my name is Alexis Bennett, and today I'm going to be talking about Japan's business etiquette. So why this is important is because when we do business, like internationally and inside of our own country, it is important to understand that around the world and even around here, it's important that we understand that they have different cultures and values. And because we don't understand this, then we could insult them or disrespect them, and that would lead to a failing business deal, and we wouldn't want that. So the solution is to take time to understand other cultures and how they do business. And one relationship that we see, like really big nowadays, is between the US and Japan. So our main focus is going to be Japan and how they do business. So when we look at Japan, it's important to first understand their background. So in their culture, they're very centered on creating harmony and oneness. And from when they start as kids, they're always taught to work together to equally do their part. And this is why they value loyalty, personal responsibility, collaboration, and respect. They're very on respect because they don't ever want to embarrass each other or do something to insult each other. They hold each other very high. And so when you first do business, it's important to understand what you're going to wear there. So in Japan, the business attire is always conservative and formal. Even if the occasion calls for casual attire, you always want to go for formal because it's always better to be overdressed than it is underdressed there. So men are looking at dark colored suits, kind of like this one right here. That's the most common one that you will see. And then women, usually they wear dresses or suits, and their shoes always have heels. But everything's always kept conservative, very dark, no bright colors. Nothing should be flashy, not even your pen. Your pen should always be black. They just don't really like flashy things over there. And then next, so when you go to your meeting, you're going to want to know how to greet them. And the first thing that you're going to do, which you would think this would be the last, but the first thing you're going to do is hand over your business card. This is almost like their hello. And when you first meet them, you don't want to introduce yourself. You want someone to introduce you to them. And so they call their business cards meshi, and it's always passed with 2 hands and a bow. So pretty much you should always have one side of your business card in English and the other side in Japanese, just to show that you respect their culture. And so you should always carry roughly 500 of them, standard Japanese card holder size. And then if you don't have any with you at that point, you want to make sure your mail went out to the next day. So the next thing you're going to do is bow. They're all about bow. The deeper you bow, the deeper respect you're showing. This picture right here kind of shows the different statuses and that they pretty much have. So the deeper your bow, the more you're respecting them. But you should depend your bow on their status and your status. So you don't want to go like super deep if you're really low and they're really high status. You kind of want to meet them in the middle. And then the third thing is a handshake. This often won't happen because they're more like comfortable with a bow and it's just their tradition. But if they offer you a handshake, you don't want to give them like any eye contact. A little is okay, but you don't want eye contact because they find that rude. Because by making no contact in a public place, they're kind of having privacy to themselves. So the next thing that you want to know is what you're going to be doing at this meeting and how to pretty much act. So we're going to talk about formality. So before the meeting, you're going to want to call weeks in advance, and you're going to want to call instead of email because emailing would just be disrespectful. And then your counterpart's always going to like dig deep and do as much research on you and your business that they can. So you kind of want to do that in return so you understand what you're getting yourself into. And then you're going to want to prepare all your business documents so you're well prepared, and you want to make sure you have a copy in Japanese. So when you go to the meeting, you want to be on time. They're all about being on time, and you want to at least get there 15 minutes early and allow 10 minutes for greetings. And then you're going to want to pay attention to seating. Seating is ranked by status. The highest status person will always be furthest away from the door, and the lowest status person will always be closest to the door. And so when it comes to communication, they value nonverbal communication more than they do verbal. So they're going to look at your facial expression, your tone of voice, your posture. You want to nod to show that you're understanding what they're saying. And then you want to avoid frowning because it shows disagreement, and eye contact, which again is rude. So when it comes to verbal, you want to avoid saying no because that's embarrassing to them. You don't want to reject them in front of other people. You kind of want to gear your questions to like yes questions, like do you agree with this? Is this something you can see happening? That way they don't have to say no. And then they're going to kind of offer you small deals that might seem bad, but you're going to want to take them because they're just trying to build trust. They want to see that you're going to take them and what you're going to do with them so they can build a relationship with you. So next comes giving gifts. This is a common tradition. You see this among like many events. It's often that the gifts are given at the first meeting, but at the end. You're not supposed to open them right then and there. The presentation is actually more important than the gift itself. They don't really care what's inside as long as it looks nice. Small cakes and good chocolates are an ideal gift. And if you give a bad present, it could ruin your business relationship. So you should avoid things like potted plants because they encourage sickness, and white flowers because they represent death. And you don't want to give a gift unless you have one for everyone. And so if you're invited to a business meal, the seating is just like a meeting. Highest is away from the door, and then lowest status is close to the door. Again, the dress is always formal. You should wait for a toast before you drink, and the host will kick that off. You don't want to sit or eat first because you are going to wait for the host again. And then when the food comes, you're going to want to try everything because it's disrespectful to not sample everything. And if you have an empty plate or an empty glass, it means you want more drink or more food. So if you're done eating, you want to leave a little bit of food on your plate and your glass half full. And if you do have an empty glass, you don't want to pour your own because that's your neighbor's job. You're always going to pour your neighbor's drink. So the conclusion, so when you do international business, especially in Japan, it is important to just focus on what you can offer them with your products, services. You want to make sure your market is very invested, that you've done your research, because in the end, it's your business that counts. Even if you make a mistake, it's okay because if you show that you're trying to understand them, then they will forgive you. And then here's the sources I used and my picture sources.